Hello and welcome back. This is the DT Corey, or as I like to say, the American Sede Probationist, whichever you prefer. Today we're going to do a reaction video to one of Michael Lofton's videos. This is going to be a bad one, boys and girls. Set of contests of all kind. Even some Novosordo Catholics. I don't know. We're just going to start this video.
Let me just maybe address very quickly what the church's position is on the death penalty. There's two things that are going on with the death penalty revision found in the Catechism of the Catholic Church. Two things. There is a doctrinal development. So there's something related to doctrine that does develop. That's number one. And then number two, there is a reversal of a discipline. So two things. There is a doctrinal element that develops. And then number two, there is a discipline that has been reversed. Now, I know I've done in-depth videos on the death penalty, but I'm just summarizing them here.
It's really interesting here how Lofton will go into this long tirade about how the whole change is not only doctrinal but disciplinary. Now, he doesn't actually give any proof as to where this disciplinary law is. It almost begs the question if there actually was any disciplinary change at all, because I don't see where the proof is, and he doesn't offer any proof. He just asserts it and doesn't offer anything of the kind. But that should keep going.
Number one, with the doctrinal development, what we have there is a greater insight into the dignity of the human person. That is a doctrinal issue.
Now, let's actually go to what the Catechism said, the actual change that he's talking about, because it doesn't make anything clear. It just repeats basically a Vatican IIism that there's human dignity and all that. But let's actually go to the change here. All right. Blah 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 blah. Here we go. Consequently, the Church teaches in the light of the Gospel that the death penalty is inadmissible because it is an attack on the inviolability and dignity of the person, and she works with determination for its abolition worldwide. Now, the doctrinal statement is right here. Well, it's all this right here. So in the light of the gospel, the death penalty is inadmissible, and then it goes on for the inviolability and dignity of the person. So that's the actual doctrinal statement. So based on the gospel, the death penalty is inadmissible. Now, you'll be hard pressed to actually find that in the Gospels, because that isn't actually what the Gospels teach. But he's just, this guy right here, he's just going to go into it and explain, oh yeah, that's not really doctrinal change, the gospel part, that's just a disciplinary change. It's so tiresome, because, well, let's go to actual church teaching here on the death penalty. And this is actually from the New Testament, so, the Gospels. Or after the Gospels, because it's, St. Paul. But anyway, here we go. This is from Romans. For he is God's minister to thee, for good. But if thou do that which is evil, fear, for he beareth not the sword in vain. For he is God's minister, an avenger to execute wrath upon him that doeth evil. Now, we have a direct quote here from a New Testament writing that supports the death penalty. And you make it hard pressed to say that it's inadmissible. But let's just go back to what this guy's saying.
The dignity of the human person. We're made aware of it. And
again, I don't see how this is clear. It's just a repeat of what Vatican II says in Dignitas Humanae, but whatever. I'll let him keep talking.
A greater way than previous generations were, especially in light of the Holocaust and stuff like that. into the dignity of the human person. Now, that's the doctrinal aspect. The disciplinary aspect is, okay, well, when we consider the dignity of the human person in our current context, is it admissible? Can we use it? Now, what Pope Francis is saying is he's saying, well, look, our penal system is such that we can safeguard the safety of people without resorting to the death penalty. And we can apply retributive justice with measures that don't resort to the death.
So here's my biggest issue. We have Lofton here actually trying to explain Francis's words and interpret them. Really, the Pope isn't someone you interpret. You just understand what they say, and then you could explain in your own words, which I guess Lofton is attempting to do, but he's actually just reinterpreting what Francis has been saying in order to fit his theology that, there was no real substantial doctrinal change. Because if there was, then, Francis wouldn't be the Pope. And Lofton can't admit that. So he's just going to keep hammering away at this theology here, but let's let him keep talking.
Penalty. Therefore, in light of the dignity of the human person, it's inadmissible because of those things in today's situation. You'll notice it hinges on the premise that our penal system is such that it can safeguard the safety of individuals without resorting to the death penalty. That's a factual question. Like that's a matter of fact rather than doctrine. Is he right about that? Maybe he is, maybe.
If this wasn't just an issue of discipline, then I wouldn't be having this conversation or, this reaction, but it's more than a matter of fact because Francis is basing it on the light of the gospel and saying that it's inadmissible. That is the biggest issue here. And the fact that we're going off in this tangent about discipline is ridiculous because he doesn't even offer any proof that it's a disciplinary law or there's who amongst the hierarchy is saying this is a discipline? Like, oh, okay, next week we can go back to the death penalty. Because if you look at what they actually say, let's say from the Catholic bishops, they're saying, as the Catechism of the Catholic Church now provides, the death penalty is inadmissible because it is an attack on the inviolability and dignity of the person. They don't say anything about, this being a disciplinary, like, oh, we can go against this later on. They say it's, a teaching. This is what, who is this? Bishop Frank said of the USCCB. I urge instead the federal officials take this teaching into consideration. The teaching that the death penalty is inadmissible. So I don't see where you can make this argument that it's disciplinary because even the U.S. bishops don't make this argument. It's carried.
He isn't. Maybe in some countries that's true. But is that true for all countries? Aren't there some countries out there that can't protect the safety of the...
Francis clearly said all countries. The church is working with determination for its abolition worldwide. So it's not, the discipline isn't even saying some countries, it's saying all countries. So
their citizens without resorting. When Francis is discipline here, because doctrine isn't being challenged, but his conclusion for a discipline can be challenged because it's based on a faulty premise, and that is the penal system today. But even...
Wow, is he actually challenging Bergoglio? Whatever.
Placing that issue, even if we have a society linked to the death penalty, even if it's true that it's inadmissible today. And again, the key there is inadmissible, not intrinsically evil. Even if it's inadmissible today, it doesn't mean it was inadmissible, 500-600 years ago, or 1,000 years ago, or 3,000 years ago, right?
Well, that's the entire issue. Why is it suddenly inadmissible? I mean, you go into this talk about technology and things changing in terms of justice. not a whole lot has changed in the justice system. I mean, they have electricity, I guess. But, locking people up, that's been around forever. This whole argument that we've somehow changed to the point that we don't need the death penalty, who has ever said that in church history that such a point will get there? You can't find it in the magisterium. Instead, it's a moral teaching. It's, a doctrinal teaching, faith or morals. It's the church saying that, especially Pope Pius III saying, concerning secular power, we declare that without mortal sin, it is possible to exercise a judgment of blood as long as one proceeds to bring judgment, not in hatred, but in judgment, not incautiously, but advisedly. Then Leo X, he actually condemned Luther's claim, which said that heretics be burned is against the will of the Spirit. And then Pope Pius XII says, even in the case of the execution of a person condemned to death, the state does not dispose of the individual's right to life. The public power alone can deprive the condemned person of the good of life in expiation for his fault after he has, by his crime, despoiled himself of his right to life. Now, in none of these statements of the magisterium do we hear or see that suddenly the death penalty can become inadmissible given a certain situation. This is all Novella Theology. This is all new doctrine. You can't find this anywhere in the teaching of the church. And this is why this whole thing is absurd. I think we're just going to be done with the video here. This is my reaction video. We're not even going to complete the video. Thank you, and God bless you.